of the most exciting things is the fit between AMC's Walking Dead and Universal Halloween Horror Nights. It's just such a great fit.
Welcome back to Expedition Haunts, and the 4th episode on the history of Halloween Horror Nights Orlando. So far we've looked at the early years, the icon years, and now it's time for the IP years. Starting with Halloween Horror Nights 22, which would surprisingly take some risks. This year's event was announced from a brand new location. It would also be the first time the event would ever cover an actual video game.
I'm Patrick Braillard. I'm one of the show directors for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando Resort. We couldn't be more excited about blending the film and the video game franchise, something that we've never done before.
That game was Silent Hill, one of the eeriest video games ever created. The house itself wouldn't rely on just inspiration from the games though, and would take aspects from the previous movie and upcoming Universal movie, Silent Hill Revelations. The house included iconic characters from the franchise, but mixed reactions from fans. The second house of the year was also an interesting and somewhat odd choice. Rumours began to circulate that magicians Penn and Teller would be involved with the Orlando event.
Hi, I'm Penn Jillette of Penn & Teller, and I'm at Universal Orlando, where we're part of their whole Halloween thing. We have our own house called Penn & Teller Nuked Las Vegas.
They had previously been involved with the Hollywood side of things, but this time they would be invited to design a house down in Florida, a post-apocalyptic world of Vegas with a unique sense of humour. This was the comedy house for the year, and was located in one of the 2 sprung tents using the 3D technology within. On select nights during the event, Penn and Teller themselves even would be within the house to confuse and surprise guests.
There's also a dealer, and there's all these waitresses that have these crooked mouths, and they're jumping out from the wall.
Right next door was another interesting house concept.
This is Alice Cooper, and I'm pleased, not really pleased, but more delighted to announce that for the very first time, Welcome to My Nightmare is coming to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando Resort.
Featuring an all Alice Cooper soundtrack and various horror scenes. Cooper, who was a fan of the event, had previously also worked with Universal Hollywood on a similar attraction. This year, the house count actually went down from 8 to 7. Not intentionally though, originally the 8th house was to be built inside the old Hercules building, but Universal decided to push forward the demolishment of it and bring forward the construction of Transformers the Ride. It is rumoured that the house inside had already been under construction with walls and props up when the decision came and all had to be hastily removed from the building. The original houses this year created some of the most fondly remembered, but there was only 2 of them. The first was Dead End, a classic haunted house. Also located in Soundstage 22 as well, was one of the best original houses ever created. Gothic, an elaborately designed cathedral with incredible detail. Questioning what was real and what was a prop inside awaited gargoyles, hunchbacks, and more. Gargoyles would literally fly past you outside the windows of the building. The house won House of the Year after the event and deserved it. House number 6 was Universal's House of Horrors, located inside the parade building and using the same layout as the previous year's Forsaken with new props and sets. Inside, a black and white world of horror awaited inspired by Dead Exposure. The final house though would have a large impact on the event for the next few years.
Mike Aiello with Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights. I'm about to take you on a walk through The Walking Dead.
AMC's hit TV series The Walking Dead was coming to the event with The Walking Dead Dead Inside, located inside the disaster extended queue line. This time taking you on the same journey Rick had taken in the show, starting with the hospital scene in season 1. Producers from the show came in to help create the most authentic recreation of the show possible, and it was a huge hit. A great house for fans of the show.
It's fun to see which moments they picked. They're all iconic moments from the show. So it's going to be really exciting.
The level of construction at the park really affected Halloween Horror Nights this year, and the biggest change due to it was the scare zones.
Hi, I'm Laura Wallace, show director for Halloween Horror Nights here at Universal Orlando. This year, we feature an all-new street experience. There are no boundaries, no safe zones, and no one escapes.
No longer did the park have defined scare zone areas this year. With the amount of construction and the newly added daytime parade, the sets were very minimal in the streets. The streets will be called the Legion of Horror and feature rotating roaming actors. The concept though was not great if you were unlucky and you would see the same characters in different areas as they rotated throughout the park.
I want to be president. I want us to be us again. I boo, Espresso Esquire. You said it yourself, dude. You don't really need me. Well, I was wrong. Somebody that I used to know. Somebody don't. You guys know I love that song.
Bill and Ted were back of course and as excellent as ever, and a new show, the 20 Penny Circus, was added, as well as a Hitchcock-inspired lagoon show topping off the event. One thing though that wasn't there for the first time in a long time was an icon, or an overall theme for the event. It was a transitioning year with risks taken and new ideas tried, but it definitely was the start of a new IP era. The following year, Horror Nights 23 came with the tagline, "What evil has taken root?" Something was in the woods and it was growing stronger every day. Permits again indicated 7 houses, and the first to be announced was the cabin in the woods. The house was in fact incredibly detailed, and Universal worked with the creators of the movie to bring every aspect of it to life.
You're all going to die tonight. We're gonna get you, not another piece.
Not based on the original Bruce Campbell movies, but on the 2013 remake. Again, working closely with the original filmmakers, Universal set out to build a fresh and very scary house taking you through the movie. While this year had some amazing IPs, Universal really did transport you inside them. No more so than the American Werewolf in London house. Announced in August on the website and the new Horror Nights Twitter account, was one of the best houses ever created at the event, which had been planned for over 6 years. Based on the 1981 movie, the house would take guests through the moors of Yorkshire and pubs of London. This really was the house that effectively introduced large-scale puppets to scare guests. Universal worked closely with John Landis, the original movie director, who helped in all areas of the house creation. Just like the movie, 8-foot puppets were used. The house took the longest to build this year and took up all of Soundstage 22, but resulted in one of the most impressive attractions ever created for the event.
Again, the scale of these things are beyond anything we've attempted before. And the characters are looking fantastic. And those wolves, I cannot wait for you guys to see those for the first time, because they're going to blow your minds.
Next door was another video game adaptation, this time not based on the movies but solely on the original games. Resident Evil Escape from Raccoon City was located inside Soundstage 21. The house showcased the scariest from the series, including zombies, lickers, hunters, and even Nemesis himself. While the sets and costumes were authentic, the house received mixed reactions, including the unique pause game scene inside. Over at the Sprung tent, urban legend La Llorona, a house which had previously existed at the Hollywood event, was now in Orlando. Some familiar scenes from Hollywood were recreated, mixed with the brand new ones that created a terrifying and visually disturbing house, which even the creatives questioned how to do tastefully. Next to this was Afterlife Death Vengeance in Sprung Tent 2. Using the 3D technology, it was billed as a house where serial killer Bobby the Blade is about to meet Old Sparky. Bobby's afterlife was not going to be an easy experience, featuring classics such as the electric chair scene and vortex tunnel sending you down to the afterlife. The final original house was a sequel to the popular Havoc house. Havoc Derailed would be in the Disaster Queue line and feature real train cars. The event would try out some new special effects inside the house to mix reactions from guests, and is generally seen as not as good as the original Havoc, but still a fun house. Announced in late July, the event would also see the return of The Walking Dead.
Katero, I'm here with Norman Reedus, Stephen Yun. We have some really exciting news. Walking Dead is back at Halloween Horror Nights this year.
Aiming to build on the previous year's house. This time though, not only in the house, but in the streets too. The third season of the show would have its own house, while each and every scare zone would cover seasons 1 and 2. This year's Horror Nights was taken over by The Walking Dead. New York sections of the park would show the fall of Atlanta from season 1, the Woodlands in Central Park, a survivors camp in the Kid Zones area. Mal's Drive-In would showcase the farm and have a small show scene within. For the first time ever, the whole of the park's scare zones will be based on one single IP. While the idea was ambitious, the major issue was that if you didn't watch the show, didn't like the show or zombies, you really had nothing to experience in the streets. If you did like the show though, the idea was pretty popular. You could essentially walk through the streets through seasons 1 and 2 before heading into the house for the 3rd season.
This year we've got probably one of the biggest challenges we have this year is the volume. With the walkers from Walking Dead, there are so many of them. And we try to give each one a unique look, so that's been, probably one of the bigger challenges this year.
The house was again created working with the producers of the show and was presented in the parade building. This time, a few of the characters for the show were allowed to be included, including the governor. 2 shows would again return, the increasingly popular Bill and Ted, as well as the return of the popular Rocky Horror Picture Show tribute. This year was more popular than ever thanks to the push and popularity of the Walking Dead series. What though would await next year? At Halloween Horror Nights 24, you have been warned. Wow, 8 houses, 2 shows, and street experiences. The announcement will be that The Walking Dead would overrun Universal's Halloween Horror Nights again. Reaction to this announcement was mixed. The 3rd year the series would feature at the event, and while the previous years had been incredibly detailed, it slightly felt like Halloween Horror Nights was merging with The Walking Dead. This time, unsurprisingly, the house will cover the events of season 4 of the show.
I am very excited to announce that Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Orlando have partnered again with AMC's Walking Dead to do Halloween Horror Nights all over again,
promising more scare actors and more sets. For the first time, this huge house featured incredible sets of helicopter crashes and prison cells inside Soundstage 25. The first time any house had actually been located inside. This huge 11,000 square foot building was previously designed specifically for TV production, but this time Halloween Horror Nights was going to make full use of it. Promoted as around twice the size of any other house, while The Walking Dead had returned for the 3rd year, you couldn't deny that this house was impressive. The amount of sets, scare actors, and detail inside was something else. The second IP house was from Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn is coming to Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights.
And was located in Soundstage 22. This house will be based on the short-lived TV series produced by Robert Rodriguez, who originally directed the 1996 movie. Featuring over-the-top gore, the show was known for and iconic scenes from the 1st season. The next house, and one series fans of the event had been waiting for, was Alien vs. Predator. Taking what Universal had learned from an American Werewolf and mixing puppets with actors in the house, they were able to create their aliens to look exactly like the movie. One of the best houses in recent years, rather than just set within the movie's storyline, it showed some of the best scenes from both franchises and ended with a small tunnel guests had to crouch or crawl through to exit. Also inside Soundstage 24, Dracula Untold Reign of Blood was again an IP house based on the recent movie of the same name. The movie was released during the event on October 10th, taking guests on a preview of the movie, which would then be released during the run of Halloween Horror Nights and then being able to go back after seeing the movie. The house was okay, the movie not so much. The final IP house of the year though would be something special, based on one of the largest horror movie franchises of all time, Halloween. Inside a sprung tent, guests would come face to face with Michael Myers, recreating that fateful night in October 1978. A true representation, in my opinion, of one of the best horror movies ever created and one of the best houses also. Scare Zones this year featured Bayou of Blood in the Louisiana Bayou and somewhat iconic Voodoo Queen inside, face off in the flesh based on the sci-fi TV show, which had been won in the 5th season by Laura Tyler.
You know, we're doing a massive scare zone, an outdoor scare zone. I've got a particular attachment to one of the contestants from past seasons, Laura Tyler.
Okay.
She was a makeup artist for us prior to being on
right.
Face Off.
Yeah.
So I imagine one or two of the characters that she's created will be featured in that scare zone.
Masquerade Unstitched, a Masquerade Ball, and finally the Purge Anarchy taking over New York, so not only did the IPs reach the houses this year, but also half of the scare zones. The final houses announced together were all original content. A fun and favourite Dollhouse of the Damned with an incredible facade and smell of baby powder and worse inside.
Hey everybody, I'm Charles Gray, show director for houses this year, Halloween Horror Nights 24 at Universal Orlando Resort. I'm not going to give away exactly who's in the animal pens, but let's just say that it's pretty frightening.
Roanoke Cannibal Colony, and finally Giggles and Gore.
So here we are at Giggles and Gore. It's a clown factory, if you will. In fact, the premise is evil clowns are made, not born.
Even before the end of Halloween Horror Nights 24, Universal were teasing the following year, and speaking of clowns, it was nearly time for the king of them to return.
The monkey thought was all it was.